And now to a story that's almost so unbelievable it sounds un-Australian. Can you imagine our country without koalas? Well, incredibly, for the first time in our history, koala numbers have dropped so alarmingly the predictions are dire for the future of one of our national icons. Here's David Richardson with more.
Look, I'm telling you, there is nothing in place to stop koalas going to extinction. Absolutely nothing, including me.
They're disappearing just before our eyes or without us really knowing. So I don't know how soon they might all go extinct, but certainly the numbers are decreasing, I suspect, every single week.
Once, that was unimaginable. Our internationally recognised icon on the verge of disappearing from the wild forever.
In some parts they're critically endangered, in some parts they're completely gone, and in the areas where they're strongholds, they're under enormous pressure from trees being cut down.
She's known as the Koala Lady. Deborah Tabbitt is boss of the Australian Koala Foundation, fighting to keep the koala alive, a battle she believes she's losing.
I reckon we'd be lucky to have 75,000 koalas left.
In the whole country?
In the whole country.
Once upon a time, could we have come here and looked up and there were koalas everywhere?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Now we come in here and there's nothing. This forest is prime koala country, a perfect blend of gum trees with leaves they love. But there's not one to be seen, and we're to blame. They're suffering from a deadly and potent cocktail: urban development, the removal of the koala's trees, and disease.
There's not nearly as many as everybody thinks, and if you ever go out in the wild looking for them, you find they're actually a lot more spread out than you might think as well. They're not wall to wall.
Smaller, tighter groups of koalas have spread chlamydia, a sexually transmitted disease that causes wet bottom before killing the animal.
Most of the populations of koalas around Australia already have chlamydia.
Most?
Yep, most, if not all of them. It's constantly being spread all the time, both sexually and mother to young.
Microbiologist Professor Peter Timms is leading the race to find a vaccine for chlamydia in koalas, a killer so far without a cure.
When these animals and these females get these cysts, they get emaciated, they look very poor and they're clearly in pain. The ones that get eye infections, some of them progress on to literally blind. So if you saw these koalas, you wouldn't just let them go and meet their own ends.
What will happen to our national icon if we don't act soon?
I think we're on a much faster decline than we all think, and the disease combined with habitat could push it past the point of no return.
This is how much koala habitat there was when we first got here 200 years ago, and this is how much there is now. It just shows that the more we keep knocking the trees down, it'll just get more and more white. How can koalas live if there's no trees?
It's a common misconception that koalas live right across the country. They don't. They're confined to isolated pockets in just 4 states: Queensland, New South Wales, parts of Victoria and South Australia. It's taken an overseas country, America, to identify our national icon as being endangered. Not one government, state or federal here will do that. In fact, the states treat the koala differently. Some claim it's in plague proportions, others it's just common. Not one government will admit the koala is vulnerable, let alone endangered. In South Australia, koalas were even killed by the government department responsible for protecting them, and then dumped.
So uncaring, aren't they? You think at least they could bury them? You know, just leave them on top of the ground for the foxes to get rid of.
You've got some culling them, you've got some sterilising them, and I don't think that it's right. That's my personal opinion.
What do you think should be done?
Move them. We could take extra koalas here and care for them. We have plenty of space and room here.
Jan Keane runs the Koala Park Sanctuary, which was set up in the 1920s to save the animals from shooters. It's a top tourist attraction. Koalas bring in more than $1 billion a year to this country, employing 9,000 people.
Everyone that comes, as soon as they get, we see the koalas. We've got to have a photo taken with a koala. Yeah, the koala is the thing that everyone wants a photo with.
And zoos and animal sanctuaries could eventually be the only place to see koalas. Experts believe they'll be gone everywhere else. How quickly are you talking about?
Well, on the Koala Coast in southeast Queensland next year.
And the rest of the country?
Oh, I'd say, you know, 20 to 50 years if we're lucky.
If we're lucky.
If we're lucky. And if we change what we're doing straight away, right now.
And September is Save the Koala Month. You'll find more details about that on our website.